Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to ConnectOMA, where we connect people and businesses around the greater Omaha area. Again, today I have Troy with me with Omaha Insurance Services. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome. So, as we learned last week, he does a lot in commercial as well as home and auto insurances. So, when people are reviewing their home insurances, I know that there's a lot of things that people may miss and also may not know exactly what, their insurance covers. So when you're doing a review with somebody that is brand new to you, what do you make sure that you point out that they know?
The first thing that I'd point out is, as an agent, we're going to do a replacement cost estimator, a brand new one on their home. So they have their home protected for what it's going to cost in today's construction materials and labor to rebuild that home, either for a partial or full loss, if there is a loss.
And that's important, especially with
that's important today.
The way prices are going up.
It's important today because of so much inflationary pressure. The last fall, I quoted my house, and the replacement cost was around $200,000. I requoted it a couple of weeks ago, and the replacement cost is around $230,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of what replacement costs are doing. And so that's why that's important. The second reason that's important to a replacement cost estimator is you may have not reviewed it with your agent over the years, and you make additions to your house, you put on a deck, you remodel your kitchen, so you upgraded your kitchens and bathrooms, and you may have had an addition to the house. That's why it's important. So you make sure you get the replacement cost estimator right that maybe you haven't reviewed with your previous agent.
Okay. Got new furniture or something like that.
Right. You want to make sure that you're covered in case of a loss. Second thing is water and sewer backup. So if the hole in the basement backs up or your sump pump fails in the basement and you have a wet mess down there, which happens more than you would think, that's covered. And there's several limits that you can choose and deductibles for that. I would start out at $10,000 in coverage, but you can certainly choose higher. Another coverage I think is important is service line coverage. So 2 or 3 years ago, more and more companies started offering that on their homeowners, which means any service line coming into the house, the homeowner is responsible from their house to where it hooks up to the city or municipality. And if you have a tree root go through a sewer or water line, or any utility line coming in, that's on you. And the average cost of one of those claims is about $8,000. The good thing about that coverage is it won't count against you as like a hail loss would. And the other coverage that's important would be some companies offer equipment breakdown coverage. So your washer, your dryer, your fridge, your dishwasher, your air conditioner, your furnace, that type of equipment, it can be covered for a loss, some up to $50,000, some up to $100,000 if you have a loss on equipment breakdown.
Just depends on the situation.
Just depends on the situation. So that's an important coverage that some homeowners may want to look into. And those two coverages are really inexpensive to add. Okay. So it's usually between $40 and $50 for the year. And the other item that's important on homeowners is to make sure that you have the deductible where the insured wants it. So with hail losses and hail losses in general, a lot of companies go to a $1,500 minimum on wind and hail, some $2,500 minimum premium or minimum deductible, and some of them will go to a percentage of what the house is covered for. So if they have a 1% deductible on their wind and hail, and it's $100,000 in replacement cost, it's $1,000 deductible. So those are three basic and quick homeowners coverages that I like to go over with a homeowner.
Okay, excellent. So then as far as on the flip side with car insurances, what are those things that people need to kind of keep in mind when they're doing a review? When
they're doing a review, it's the amount of liability coverage would be number one. So liability to others would be if you get in a car accident and you cause them bodily injury. Or property damage to their vehicle or another object or building. Do you have enough coverage? Say, is there enough coverage if you're in a multi-vehicle accident? Do you have enough coverage if you really hurt somebody else in an accident? Because once the policy
Or you
limit,
wrecking the BMW.
right.
That's not the 1997 Nissan.
And what people don't think about is what happens when those limits run out, because once those limits run out, then they're responsible for anything after that. So if you have state minimums, which in Nebraska are $25,000 per person and $50,000 per accident, and it doesn't take very long to get to those amounts in medical or property damage.
Oh yeah.
Then,
especially with the way the cost of any medical thing is nowadays.
Yeah, if they have the state minimums, they're going to have to pay out of pocket after that. And how do you pay for that? You're going to write a check each month, have your wages garnished. So that's the other thing that's important, that you have the liability limits that's going to protect your assets if there is a bad accident. The second thing is comprehensive coverage. So comprehensive coverage is anything besides a collision. So if it gets hailed on, it gets stolen, it gets flooded, it gets vandalized, you hit a deer, that's all comprehensive coverage.
Okay.
So that's why that's important. And collision, that's for if you hit another vehicle or object or building, it pays for the damages to your vehicle.
Okay.
And the third thing would be roadside assistance.
Yes.
Some companies call it towing, some call it roadside assistance. So if you're locked out of your car, get a flat tire, need a tow, need a jump start.
Yeah.
It's an optional coverage if the insured wants that.
Yes.
And rental reimbursement, that's if there's a covered loss, if you're in an accident or you can't use your vehicle, it has to be repaired because of a covered loss, you can choose different amounts of what you want for rental reimbursement. You know, $25, $35, $40, $50 a day, and they'll pay up usually up to 30 days of rental car reimbursement. So yeah, you want to make sure your liability to others is covered, your physical damage is covered, your uninsured motorist coverage. That's for the reason that's important is for your bodily injury. If someone hits you and they don't have enough coverage, or
how are you going to make sure that you're getting better and are you going to pay out of pocket for that? You probably don't want to.
Right. So that's why that is important. It's for your bodily injury or someone in your vehicle that if you get hit by somebody that doesn't have insurance. Yeah. It's for bodily injury only. Some people think if somebody doesn't have insurance, underinsured and uninsured motorists is for physical damage. It is not for physical damage. It is for bodily injury only. Okay. 20% approximately of the drivers out there, give or take, are uninsured. Uninsured.
Ah, that's a high percentage. I would have never guessed that. 20% are not insured.
Right. Approximately, between 15 and 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a high percentage.
Yeah.
Higher in some areas than others.
True.
So that's why that's important. And the other thing that's important is that you have those liability limits set high enough to protect your assets in case there is a loss.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, then as far as, so we covered home, we covered auto, and then just a little snippet about the commercial insurances.
So yeah, we do commercial insurance, so commercial property. If you have a building that you want to insure, that's you lease out to clients that are either running a barber shop or a bar or e-cigs. The commercial contractors, so you have a roofer that needs insurance, somebody that's a remodeler or a flooring guy, we do that. If you have commercial auto where you're driving a truck down the highway and you're hauling goods for others, we do commercial auto and lawnmower trucking. Okay. So, and each one of those contractors, if you have a commercial contractor doing work, then their car or vehicle should be on a commercial auto policy because they're using it in the course of their business or hauling goods to people. So that's the reason those coverages are important. And so you want to make sure that they cover their liability to others on a commercial auto policy, their liability to others if somebody slips and falls on their property. And so we do rental properties as well, so that's why those coverages are important. And workman's compensation. Okay. So if you have somebody that's working for you and they get hurt, that's why that's important. Yes. And so many of these, if you're working for if you're a contractor working for somebody, so many companies that you work for are going to require that you have commercial auto, general liability, workman's comp, depending on your situation. And their requirements are usually $1 million on those policies.
Okay.
So $1 million for commercial auto, $1 million at least on commercial general liability.
Okay.
They're doing van insurance, so if you're doing a rodeo or aviation exposure or different hole-in-one stuff, all sorts of events. We can do that. So that's why that's important.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So a lot of different facets to the types of insurances that you can provide for people.
Right.
Yes.
Anything that's property or casualty, we can usually do.
Excellent. So when people are looking at their insurances, how often should they be reviewing?
They should do a review every year. Your policy comes up for renew every year, so they should probably do a review every year with their agent.
And that's at minimum.
That's at minimum.
Yes.
Because on the auto, you're going to be making changes during the year. It could be several times. That's easy. Yeah. It's the home that's harder to review.
Yeah. And then so we did kind of talk about this, is people need to make sure that they update the value of what they own in their house. Because a lot of people, when they initially put the insurance in place, they may get a pretty good estimate, but as time passes, forget to update that number when, over the years they start accumulating more stuff. Yeah,
and the homeowner's policy accounts for, depending on the carrier and the package, usually about 70% of what the dwelling's covered for is going to be covered in personal property. So if the house is $100,000 in replacement cost, $70,000 would be your personal property. And what they consider personal property is if you could take your house and turn it upside down and shake it like a salt shaker, whatever falls out is personal property.
Okay.
So that's important because people will usually underestimate the amount of stuff they have in their house.
So then what's a good way to kind of notate that?
Good way to notate that is keep an inventory, and in every room of your house, you want to stand in the four corners, each corner, and take a photo of each room. So you know what's in there. You might want to take photos, open up your cupboards and kitchen and dresser drawers and take pictures. So if there is a loss, you can get reimbursed the way you should.
Okay, nice. Good little tip there.
Yeah, that is a good tip.
Well, thank you so much again for joining me, Troy. I hope that everyone out there has learned a little tip, trick, or two about home, auto, and commercial insurances. If you have any questions for Troy, I will link in the description below his contact information as well as his company's address so you can get a hold of him to be able to do a review or even just a side-by-side comparison. All right, if you've enjoyed these videos, please give me a thumbs up and look to subscribe. Once again, thanks so much, Troy.
Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Bye.